we want to look at is lesson set 12. Lesson set 12 deals with equations of lines. So as we look at it, if you were to look on page 67 in your book, we want to be able, what our goal is for this lesson is to be able to take the graph of a line and write the equation of it. You have already worked with graphing lines. Now you want to take the graph and write the equation. So we're going to work backwards from what you've already been working with. So for an equation for a line, what is an equation for a line that you know of? What's the format for the equation of a line? Y equals mx plus b. That happens to be the slope-intercept format for an equation for a line. So that, if you don't have that on your note card, is something you need on your note card. What does M stand for? What's M in the equation of a line? The slope. M is the slope. And if we talk about the slope, what can you tell me about that line? That's a positive slope. So of course, this would be a negative slope. What's a horizontal line? Zero slope. And vertical is undefined. And we remember that because we can find the slope somewhere within the words. All right, so we have positive, negative, zero, and undefined slopes. So M is going to have a number in the equation, and that number is going to be your slope. But I also have to replace B with a value. And what is B? The what? The y-intercept. It's actually the y-intercept. M is the slope, and B is the y-intercept. And what do we mean when we say y-intercept? Where it crosses the y-axis at. And what's your y-axis? Vertical or horizontal? Vertical. So here's my y-axis. And I want to know, where does it cross that y-axis at? That's going to be your B value. So all I have to do is look at a graph, and I have to find two missing pieces. I need to find the slope. How do we find slope? Rise over run. So I also need to know here that slope is, I should change the color of that since I have that in red there. Slope is, M is rise over run between 2 points. And I know if it's positive, negative, zero, or undefined. And then I got to figure out where it crosses the y-axis at. And that's all I have to do. Put the numbers into the equation, and you have the equation for the line. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and we'll try to come up with the equation for a line. So let me find my graph paper here. So they're going to give you something. Let me find a point. I don't want that. I want my line tool. There we go. I gave you that line, and I asked you to find the equation for that line. Well, to find the equation for a line, we know a format. That format is y equals mx plus b. And I need to find two values. What two values do I need to find? I need to find m, which is slope, and I need to find b, which is y-intercept. Can you determine any one of those? Y-intercept. Where's the y-intercept? What's that number? 2. So far in my equation, I have y equals mx, and that b value is a 2 because it crosses the y-axis at 2. Now I need to find slope. Rise over run. So you look at your graph and find 2 points. Can you visually find 2 points? Okay. Would you agree here and here? What is your rise over run? Does it continue? Mm-hmm. Both of them I've gone up 2 and over 3. Is that a positive or a negative slope? Negative slope, because you can make your n out of that. So that's your negative slope. So my equation is y equals, I know it's a negative slope. What's the rise? 2. What's your run? 3. And then I put my x. And then what is our y-intercept? 2. And that's what they want you to do. So in the past, you've taken y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2, and you've had to graph it. Now they're saying, given the graph, find the equation. Find the equation for the line. Now notice x and y will always be a first degree, meaning that their exponents will be 1. If x happens to be squared, you're going to get a graph that's a parabola, which is like a U. A square is going to give you a parabola, which is a U. But if you have a straight line, x and y are to the first power. The slope is constant. You can pick any 2 points, and it will always be 2 over 3. Rise of 2, run of 3. Rise of 2, run of 3. Throughout the whole graph. You can just keep doing it over and over and over again. If you have a parabola, that changes. And then the y-intercept does not change. So m and b are constants. They're going to be a constant throughout your line. Question. All right. Let me give you another one. I'm going to give you. Let me see. All right. The graph of my line is going to look like this. Hopefully orange will stand out. Can you see the orange? Not really. I didn't think so. All right. Let's go back to blue. See if we can see. Can you see the blue? Yes? My question for you is, what is the equation of that line? It's an undefined slope. Which axis does it cross? The x-axis, where? -3. So the equation for that is actually just x equals -3. We don't have a y equals mx plus b. You've had to graph x equals -3 on your homework assignment before, or x equals 7 or something like that. But in a vertical line, it's just going to be x equals -3 because every single point on this line, no matter what point you pick, the x coordinate value is always -3 for every single one of those points. So if I change it, what happens if I give you this line then? That's a key thing right there, is recognizing that. Hopefully, can you see that green, or do I need a darker green? Darker? Which one? Is that better? Okay. All right, what if I give you this then? Okay, that's supposed to be right on 4. Didn't quite get there. I don't know if I can get it to move or not. There we go. That's what I want. Right, if I give you this line right here, and I ask you to find the equation of that line, what would that be? Y equals, correct. It's going to be y equals -4 because it crosses the y-axis at -4, and every single one of the points on that line is going to have a y-coordinate value point of -4. Do you see the difference between the two? You may need to put an example like that down on your note card because you're going to go, oh, is it x equals or y equals? I always remember just by what it crosses, the y-axis or the x-axis. It's opposite of the axis itself. This is vertical, like a y-axis, but it's x equals. This is horizontal. So I just go, where does it cross? It crosses x. Where? -3. X equals -3. It's y. Where does it cross? Y equals -4. You have your answer. You got that down. Can I change the slide, or do you still need to write that as an example? What? Okay, I'll let you write it for a second. Oh, here. No, I can't do that. Never mind. That was going to be a good thought. Actually, maybe I can. Let me pause this so I'm not wasting time. Okay, so a horizontal line leaves you with what? Y equals. A vertical line is x equals wherever it crosses that x-axis at. I have a line given to you right now. I would like you to come up with the equation for that line. So the first thing when I think of equation for a line, I think of y equals mx plus b, and I need to find values for m and a value for b. So I will give you a minute to talk with a partner about that and come up with the equation for the line. Sam, what did you get for an answer? 1/3 x plus 3. Very good. Y equals 1/3 x plus b. I needed numbers. What I have in boxes is what you have to replace. Y and x stay in your equation. So b stands for the y-intercept. It crosses. There we go. It crosses at y equals 3, and the slope. Find 2 points. Sometimes it's a little difficult to see right where that intersection is at. So continue. If you think it was up 1/3, continue that pattern and see, or down 1, back 3, down 1, back 3, down 1, back 3. And see if it continues throughout your whole graph. Then make sure you put the rise over the run. Now, where did everybody mess up? For those of you that messed up. I see it all the time, and I'm glad you did it because it reminded me to point this out to you. You forget the x. Don't forget to put the x back in your problem because you'll miss it if you don't. Y equals 1/3 plus 3 is what I see. Don't forget to put that x back in there. Are you okay with that? All right, I'll give you, let me give you another example and then we'll be good. Well, we might put 2 lines on here. Oh, that's not what I want. I want this. Okay, the first line, I want you to write the equation for the graph of the green line. So write the equation for the graph of the green line, and I'll put a blue line in there. All right. I'll give you a minute. I want you to come up with the equation for the green line and for the blue line. Go. Okay, I found another common mistake. First of all, if we look at the green, is that an X or a Y equals? Y, because it crosses the Y axis. So it's Y equals, and it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. So Y equals -5 is the green line. So if I am looking for the blue line, the general equation for a line, here's where some of you are going to mess up too. You're forgetting Y equals, and they want an equation. The equation has an equal sign in there. So please remember to put Y and then put your equal sign. Is your slope positive or negative? That's a negative slope, so I would put that down. Then count. Rise over run. What do? 1/2. You go up 1 and you go over 2. Don't forget to put the X. Did we remember that this time? Good job. And what's that B? Plus B, what's my B? The B is where it crosses the Y-axis at, and where does it cross that Y-axis at? -1. Plus -1 means the same thing as just -1. So Y equals -1/2 X minus 1. Counting, sometimes sitting back there a ways is a little difficult to count. So some of you moved up here, that's good. In your book, it might be a little difficult. Please, brand new textbooks, don't write in it. Don't write in it. Recognizing if it's positive or negative. Are there questions? Are we good?